Hello there, welcome again to another live. Hold on, camera angle's a bit messed up. Hold on, there we go. Yeah, welcome to another. Hold on, I think we are a little bit hazy there. Just clean the camera lens. Sorry about this anyway, but yeah, welcome to another Genessis Models live show. This is our 18th live show. We're going to be hopefully touching on doing some spraying with our Mig-15 just here. If you remember last week, we did a whole bunch of we did scribing and sanding, a bit of filling and stuff, and getting those sort of potentially hard techniques sort of done and out the way. Now we're going to be sort of finishing that off and getting some spraying going on with this, and we're going to be going natural metal finish as well. But as I've probably already mentioned, we're not going to be going off and using the cool Alclads 2 or even extreme metal stuff, right, by AK Interactive, really cool sort of lacquers and enamels. We are going to be trying out the Vallejo stuff. This stuff is really cool because it is acrylic based, and because it's acrylic based, you know, it's not so harmful to your health, and because it's like acrylic, it's water based, so it's less harmful than all this, it's less smelly, so we're gonna give this stuff a good go and seeing to and sort of see how it works a bit differently, which is not really massively different. Hopefully I've got enough colours to do a nice natural metal finish on this. So as always, we've got the comment sections on my laptop over here. Get your comments in, ask whatever you want, questions, answers, maybe you're working on something or just want to shout out or whatever. Throw your comments up and I'll do my best to answer them as we are sort of working through with the Mig-15. Just a little bit of an update as well here at Genessis Models. You know, we have got what was it again, the 1/72nd scale group build that is happening on the Genessis Models website. That ends in like July or something, so you got months and months to sort of basically get in there, build a 1/72nd scale, show your pictures of it, and then you're entering, you can win a Genessis Models trophy and stuff. So it'd be cool to go check that out, as well as all our other sort of behind the scenes builds and inbox reviews going on. And I have just filmed this month's vlog showing last month's winner of a competition, as well as what is this month's competition. So if you want to go check out the competitions, that should hopefully be going up tomorrow, and go check that out. So let's jump into our build. There we go, just changing camera angle. There we go. We got our Mig-15 just here. Hello for everyone who has joined in the chat. We got people from Louisiana, Canada, Romania, Texas, Brazil so far. All of you are welcome. Now we are getting to the spraying stage, so it is always good. This is where your paint work gets more and more professional and better and less problems the more cleanly you are with your model. So I always like to wear a glove when handling my model. Right, but before we get to that, if I just bring this out, I've just got a little plastic tub here, and this has got all our little pieces in here, wheels and all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to really mess around with these little pieces tonight. I'll spray these off camera, but we have got our nice little canopy that we was working on last week. As you can see, the what was it called again, the mascal is nicely set on there, and it's all masked up pretty cool. So before we actually glue that on, you know, I've already cleaned this, I know, but you know, before you actually just stick this down, I always just come in and just clean the inside of the canopy, because really this is our last sort of chance to get rid of any bits or smudges or grease or fingerprints, any nasty stuff like that that we don't want to be getting right to the end of the build, peeling off the masking tape and seeing. Right, so we'll just put that out the way nice and carefully. Right, and then what we're going to do, I also like to come in, get my airbrush and just blast inside our cockpit area, right, because we might have maybe a bit of dust, maybe a bit of something inside there. And again, you know, you put the canopy on, you come to the end, you peel away the masking tape, and maybe a bit of dust has gone on the canopy, and it's all a horrible mess. And then you've either got to live with it or you take off the canopy, which is a pain. I'm just quickly checking any comments. I got a comment from David about after we do the metal finish, would I still do a clear coat? That's actually a good question, because when it comes to a lot of natural metal finishes, what we're going to be basically doing tonight is you put a natural metal finish on and it can look like a natural metal finish, but if you decide, you know, you want to put a clear coat on, put decals on, and then maybe you want to have a matte finish at the end of it and you put a matte coat on, it does sort of take away that natural metal finish, just a tinge of it. It just kind of, it loses that natural metal finish a bit. But then the problem is with that is, how do you put your decals on? Because decaling solutions can eat away potentially, possibly, at, you know, what would be unprotected paintwork, as well as, you know, some decals can be glossy, some decals can be matte, which isn't going to match your actual natural metal finish paintwork. So there is a lot of problems to just leaving a natural metal finish without any gloss coats or matte coats or anything like that. So as much as it does can take away from the natural metal finish, there's so many other things to take care of. So I do, so the answer is I do always kind of put a gloss coat on, decals, probably matte coated, and sort of, yeah, you kind of have to live with that bit of a loss of natural metal finish. And there's a few questions about like how much thinner to use and stuff. That's something we're going to sort of get to later on in the show, so I'll answer that later. But what we want to do now is glue on our little canopy here. There's a few ways. I mean, we can glue this on. I mean, we can use Tamiya extra thin cement. It will lock it down really nice, really good, really solid. But if you make any mistakes, that's it, you've screwed up big time. You know, this Tamiya extra thin cement, as much as it's got that great capillary action to get into all the nooks and crannies, if we sort of accidentally touched, say, the masking tape, Tamiya extra thin cement is going to get in underneath the masking tape and leave a nasty stain on our canopy. Although I still do that, even though there is a risk, I do tend to take the risk because I like how it kind of locks down and glues nice and quick, right? But we're going to play this one safe. We've got micro crystal clear. It's basically a PVA glue, but it's designed for us modelers in mind, because what it does is it plain and simply dries to a crystal clear, just like it says on the tin. Now with this stuff, it's not going to be very tacky at first. I'm using a cocktail stick, right? And then what I'm going to do, right, is I'm just going to use side of a cocktail stick and just run it around the edges. Right, now, as I say, it's not very tacky at first, right? But if we sort of give it a bit of time to set, right? Because this going down straight away, nice and fresh, isn't going to be mega tacky. But if we kind of just let it, say, go off for a little bit, right, which is potentially the time it's taking to like put this around. Right, fingers crossed. Right, it'll have dried just enough, just a little bit, for it to be a bit tacky. But then at the same time, you don't want to leave it too long that it does really start to dry. So this is a bit of an old pot, so potentially it is a little bit thick, which means it'll probably dry a bit quicker. And it is quite warm in here, just depend on the room you're in. And then plain and simply, we just carefully place that into position, and hopefully it should have enough bite to go down pretty much straight away. Ooh. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling it has got some nice bite to it. Then getting a cocktail stick, making a little bit moist, we're just going to wipe around the edges, because you know, a bit of that crystal clear has potentially oozed out a little bit, and we don't want oozed out glue, so by wiping it up we sort of clean up those areas. Hopefully you're still on camera. I'm just making sure it's in position and locked. Just feeling with my nail, just make sure there's no step in it. Yes, there is slightly, so I'm just manoeuvring it. Just got to make sure that is close as possible. That's just the compressor. Okay. Just making sure. I'm pretty sort of happy with that now. I do want to sort of leave that to sort of bond a little bit, so I'm just going to check if you guys have got any comments or any questions you want answering tonight. Got a comment here, another suggestion here. Somebody uses sort of the same stuff, but it's by Revell, called Contact Clear. Right, so that's another product you could probably try out on the market. Thanks for that comment just there. Right then, let's see if we're good on this. Right then, so what we want to do is, as much as we might want to sort of jump in, start spraying, cracking on, it is a good idea to do your prep work. I do like to clean my models up. Right, I know some people don't and they get on okay with it, but it does add an extra professional touch to it by giving it a clean. Now we have done a bit of sanding on this and stuff. Good old toothbrush, nice and simple, dipped into a little bit of water, and what we do is we simply brush around the model. Right, and what this does, it gets into all your recesses, recess panel lines, recess rivets, right, and it will basically clear out any sanding dust or any sort of debris that's got into the recess panel lines or recess rivets, right? Because if we do have any sanding dust in any of the recess panel lines or rivets, it will act as a filler when we spray on top of it. The spray paint will lock it in and you'll lose your recess panel line or rivet or whatever it is, right? And then we can just dab that off, right? And then what I also like to do is I like to get out a bit of IPA. I've just got it in this little tub just here. Let's just zoom out a little bit. IPA is basically rubbing alcohol. It's really good because it's what is used in electronics, and it cleans very well, but at the same time it evaporates so fast, which basically means we can clean this up, and you might already see how quick that has already evaporated off of the model. right? So as we can just jump straight in and spray over it. We ain't got to worry about waiting for this stuff to dry. All right, just crack straight on. I'm just trying to get into all the nooks and crannies all over this, right? We are removing grease as well, fingerprint marks, grease, dirt, dust, hairs, you know, all these things that are not going to be good when spraying, right? If you've got a greasy model, what can potentially happen is you spray down and then, you know, maybe you touch the model, maybe you put some masking tape down, and grease will stop paint sticking to your model. And what could potentially happen is basically you could end up peeling up any of the paint, peeling it up right down to the bare plastic, right? So that is why we want to do this, to get rid of stuff like grease, and it just makes this surface all nice and perfect for our spraying. I just want to quickly check my canopy that I haven't knocked it while doing this. You could also get out an anti-static cloth, and just to sort of show you, I know it's only a bit, but that cloth is a little bit dirty. You might not have noticed it, but you know, there was a bit of dirt on there, and that's what we want to be getting rid of. Let's quick look at any comments. No, that's it for now. Right, so let's put down a little bit of this kitchen paper towel, just to keep our work surface okay. Maybe zooming out a little bit as well, because you're a bit close there. Let's move that out the way. I've got some models at the back there, I don't know if you can see them. So I'm just going to cover them up as well. Right then. So first things first, I mean, as much as you might want to jump straight into natural metal finish, first off I'm going to be getting out some black. For this I'm using War Painters, the Army Painter. It's a matte black, it's acrylic based. Right, any black will do really. Black is kind of black really. We are staying away from lacquers and stuff for this. So I know Alclads 2 does do a nice black, and it's like a micro filler and all this, and it is rather nice, but as I say, we're going to steer clear of that. So let's get in a bit of thinners. We're going to go 50-50 with thinners and black paint. I am using my homebrew thinners. All right, so if you don't know about that, you know, go check out the Genessis Models website, and we've got a tutorial on how to make your own homebrewed thinners. All right, we're going to give it a nice sort of mix. Right, and the first thing we're going to do, right, is we're going to spray our canopy. Just check now we're flowing. Our canopy here, it's sort of up to you. I mean, what colour do you want your canopy to be on the inside is what we spray on first. If we sprayed red on first, we'd see red through the other side, and you may not want to see that. So I want to spray this black. What it's also going to do is it's going to allow us to see how well our canopy has fitted down. And while we're at it, I know last week we was on about how if we spray all our, well, if we paint all our join lines, we'll be able to see what the model's going to look like painted. So we'll be able to see, you know, if we've got any problems that need sorting out. Right. So this is a good time to do that. And not only that, when it comes to models, it is good to prime them. And in this case, doing natural metal finish is a perfect colour for natural metal finish is to spray your model black. Right, so this also kind of doubles up as let's prime it. So just to prime it, I'm just lightly spraying on a misty coat. Right, it is black, so it does go down pretty well, but you know, light misty coat where we hardly put any down, like so. I mean, our pressure is like a normal spraying of about 20 psi, 50-50 on the old mix. I'm just going all the way around this model. Right. And this is going to take a bit of time to do and spraying time, so feel free to do some questions and I can try and answer them while I work my way through this. Right, let's get another coat sort of down and we'll see where we are. I've got a feeling we've got to do a little bit of work to the cockpit before we move on, because I know we're in the spraying stage and I know you kind of want to jump in and start spraying down, but as I say, because we've got spray paint down now, we're going to see what this model's going to look like basically when it's done. So any cracks, gaps, they are going to show up, and I am seeing a bit of a one just here, so we're going to want to probably take care of this area here. I'm already seeing a gap in the canopy. All right, so I'm just going to spray around this and just let it dry around the canopy area, and we'll do a nice quick bit of filling that we can do nice and quickly so we can still crack on and get spraying. Just spraying on a nice normal light coat on here. You don't want to be spraying down and seeing it going wet. As soon as you see it sort of looking wet, you want to move along, because you don't want to put too much paint down to get too wet, and you know, you end up sort of having like it pooling up, and it can make nasty sort of raised patterns and stuff of dripping paint and that kind of stuff. So it is good to move along as soon as you start looking wet. Just checking any comments while this is drying. What then we could do, maybe something to hold this. Maybe shove something up the tailpipe. Right, see what we've got. Is that going to be enough? See what we've got. Don't know if we are. We're going to have something, or I can find something. Just one of these things, you know, just go through your tools and see if you find something that maybe fits. Yeah. Be a bit of a pain because you know, we are live and I don't want to be like spending ages like spraying one side and then spray the other side, but it looks like we're going to have to do that. So, and oh, now okay, we've got an example here actually. Is it going to happen again? I was just spraying then and my colour cup started gurgling up there, right? So that is potentially a blocked nozzle. Right, so take off our little guard and we can just clean our needle end, right? Or it could have been that our nozzle isn't tightened on enough, so maybe just give that a little bit of a tighten. So we shouldn't have it gurgling out of the colour cup, just in case you've ever had that problem before. Let's just cover up my models I've got over there. Don't want to get spray paint on them. I'm just going around with another coat, which is nicely going to prime this black, ready for our natural metal finish. There we go. Now with natural metal finishes, I mean, another thing we could do is gloss this next. So we've got like a black glossy primer, because I've done it before in the past. If you can like spray, you know, spray some natural metal finishes down, leave it bare plastic, black primer with gloss on top, and you'll look at it and the difference is, you know, quite profound actually. It is very, very different depending on what you prime. So it is quite important with natural metal finishes to prime your model. So now we've got paint down on this. I'm looking, our join lines are looking good. apart from just here, I'm seeing a bit of a gap at the back here with our canopy. Right, so I am going to fill that in. Right, you'll be able to see a bit more clearer on canopy when I fill it in. Let's bring you in close though as well. Right then, so we've got our Vallejo plastic putty here. Really, I do like this. It makes things so easy and, you know, friendlier to use than a lot of fillers out there. But we've got our little gap just here. Now, I've only just sprayed this, so I should be like leaving this, but we are live, and I don't want to be having you like watch me, you know, paint dry. So if you're doing it, you know, I'd leave this to dry a bit longer because we have been spraying. But I'm just doing it for you guys. So we've injected a bit of our Vallejo plastic putty, nice cotton wallboard, a little bit moist, and what we can do is we just wipe across, right, and we just sort of then maybe just tidy it up a little bit. I don't want to rub too much at this because we have just sprayed in. We're going to take up black paint. As you can see, it's going onto our cocktail stick, but you might just be able to see what I was on about. We've got like this white Vallejo plastic putty now in these gaps that I was on about. I'll just apply a little bit more where it's needed, and that's just going to really nicely, quickly and easily, you know, fill those gaps. And there's a bit this side also, just here. So I'm just injecting that into these gaps, and then I'm going to wipe it up, and you can just see nicely there how you got that little gap because it's white where it just filled in. Give it a bit of a blow. Okay, there we go. I think we're looking good. That's what I like about it. The nice applicator just makes things so precise, so neat, that we can just move on now, which is, you know, rather cool. I'll just let that dry a little bit while I read any questions you might have. Okay, Scale Plastic Models is asking what airbrush this is. This is actually the Evolution CR Plus. The Evolution range is a really well recommended range that I would recommend. Evolution 2.1 you probably pay like maybe £130. This is the CR Plus, which is maybe about £200. It's the same sort of model. It's just they give it this lovely triple copper coated spray finishing on it, which protects it from stuff like lacquers and enamel based paints, which is rather cool. Also, what we've got here, someone's asked about why don't I just spray a gloss black on this. I mean, yeah, fair enough. I could have just started off with a gloss black from finish. You could also do that if you wanted to. It's not a massive big deal. I don't know, I just find that I like to use as a gloss. It's decanted into this tub, but it's the old, you know, Pledge floor cleaner. And I just find it all just dries so quick, and I've just run out of paint. So I'm just going to top this up. So get a bit of quick thinners in there, shake my bottle, throw in my army painter black, doesn't matter which one, black's black really. I give it a mix as well. There we go. Lancaster's 626 is asking, Is this the Airfix kit? No, this is the Edard kit, which I do find is pretty damn nice by Edard. The surface detail does look amazing. And there we go. Just done that other wing now. And while we're at it, we can actually, because we got that white bit of primer there, we can just spray that in. Again, I'm doing this live. I don't want you sort of watching paint dry, so it would have been a good idea to let that filler dry before spraying over it, but I'm just going to take the risk for you guys so we can move things along. I'm just pressing down for air just to dry this off a bit quicker. Again, speed things up for you guys. And there we go. Let's just put that down, maybe zoom you out a little. No, that's zooming you in, zoom you out. There we go. Right then, so we need to clean our airbrush ready for, let's just double check. Has that filler done the job? Yeah. I can just, I don't know if you can see it, but that little gap that was by the canopy is now gone with that filler. Right then, so let's just clean out our airbrush. I'm just going to spray the excess paint into one of these. These are quite good actually. I can't remember how much I paid for them, but they're nicely on the internet, and you can basically, you just throw in a, kitchen paper towels or cotton wool or something like that, and you just spray it in there, and it just catches all the fumes and just keeps the fumes down, rather than what I kind of normally do and shouldn't do, is I just kind of pour it in the bin or spray it in the bin, which as I say you probably shouldn't. And then there is some airbrush cleaner. Airbrush cleaner, again, there is a video on the Genessis Models website where you can watch how I make my own airbrush cleaner, but Vallejo airbrush cleaner, I do like that if you want to buy your own. And I'm just cleaning off the needle end, and then I'm just going to pinch the needle end, press down the trigger, and slowly bring back the trigger, and it just gurgles that paint up and gets it all working in there nicely. Just gurgling that up, and then I'm just going to tip it upside down, clean out the colour cup end, get it to come out the colour cup end so we don't have it coming out the needle end, because as you can see the colour cup end is a lot bigger, sorry, the needle end is a lot smaller than our colour cup end. And again, we can do that a couple of times until we're happy we're looking kind of clean. Don't sort of like blast back the trigger and sort of have it gurgle so much it spits up into your face, or even spits up and out and onto your model, and then leaves nasty marks. And again, tip it upside down. Well, probably after 2 times you're probably going to be sort of good, and then you can start blasting it through your airbrush and keep going until it's nice and clean, which as you can probably see, it's coming out nice and clean. That's a nice quick colour change. Right, so now let's put our guard back on. Right then, now we have our colours. Right then, I've actually limited on what colours I've got for our Vallejo metal colour. We're going to be using aluminium as our main colour. I do like to kind of do a couple of panels to make it look kind of cool, if we get round to that tonight. We've got what's this, dull aluminium, we've got dark aluminium, that'll probably be a good one. Duralinium, well, that will also probably be a good colour. Just different kind of shades and tones of like our aluminium colour should be good for that. So give it a good shake, because it probably does sediment at the bottom. Mike says he's just brought an Evolution CR 2-in-1. Congratulations, you will love that airbrush, and you won't need to buy another airbrush ever again, because they do last for life, if you ask me. I can see some bubbles at the bottom, so I know it's all got all the stuff off the bottom. Right, now, the one thing is I have never tried my homebrew thinners with Mr. Metal Colour. Right, so we're going to experiment tonight live and see how this goes on. So let's just pour in a nice bit of our thinners, and then let's open up. Oh, just got this all over my fingers. Let's just clean that up so we keep our model clean, and then we're just going to pour this into here. We're going to go for a 50-50 mix, although this is quite thin actually. I'm wondering if this is spray straight out the bottle. It does actually look that thin. Well, we'll have a little test, shall we? Let's just clean my little paintbrush off for mixing. Make sure we clean it good though. Oh, thanks for the comment. Who's that from? Bruno. They are meant to be sprayed directly from the bottle. Cool. Okay. So I did think it did look quite thin. Be a shame to just pour this away, but hey ho. I'll go with you, what you guys are suggesting tonight. Another comment about. Okay, strategies for avoiding dust and stuff on your model. Well, I mean, obviously because we're doing this live, I can't put like face masks on and my extractor fans and whatnot, because it's going to be pretty sort of loud. But yeah, you know, we've got a extractor fan just over here. But what I did used to have was I kind of got like a plastic storage box. I kind of built this sort of filter area in the box and then a hole in the other end, and I'd have like a fan blowing into it, and it would sort of it just close it in from any dust, and then there'd be like a heater on the other end, and it would just blow hot air across the model, drying it. There'd be filters in there so no dust would get in there, and it just like nicely sort of kind of cook the model, make the paint cure, and as I say, you wouldn't get any dust on it because there'd be filters and stuff on it. You could go down that route and do a homemade version if you wanted to, but in general I do find that because we're using stuff like acrylics, it does dry pretty quickly. So if you've got your extractor fan on, I do find you don't really get much crap sort of go on your model. It's if you've got stuff, if you use stuff like enamels, because they take longer to dry, you've got a longer amount of time where your model's kind of exposed to, you know, bits of hair and dust and debris going on them. So, you know, if you're using acrylics, you should generally be okay. It's just those enamels, as I say, they take such a long time to dry. So let's just check our spray. Now this is just neat as suggested, and it does seem to be spraying quite well. I've got my PSI still at, and I've got some blobs on this from somewhere, which is not good. That's probably from me messing about. We've got a bit of overspray, but feeling it, I don't think we're in too much trouble. So let's not worry too much. Put the kitchen paper towel down. Right then, let's start off with a nice light misty coat. Right, really quick, just sort of nicely over it, so you know we're not really seeing it going down much, although this just looked like it's having great coverage. Right, just a quick one all the way around. Right. And there we go, nice quick misty coat. That misty coat is going down It's going to dry quicker, it's going to stick a lot easier, and it's going to make all the spraying that we do from this point onwards stick better to the model. It's all good to make sure your paint's sticking nicely to the model. It just makes everything more professional, gives you less problems. I mean, if you just blast down straight away, pulls up, you got problems straight away. It potentially doesn't stick as well to the model, so then you can have things peeling up, potential cracking problems. Nice light misty coat to start with. Cut to air to dry it off, and it should be dry pretty quickly because it is misty and it is acrylics. And then we can come in with a light coat like so. Now this is natural metal finishes, and I know some people do prefer some different techniques, right? Natural metal finish paints are normally not very forgiving, right? So i.e. the problem you may have, let's just finish this quick bit here. Okay, the problem you, oh, let's blast a bit out. It feels like it wasn't coming out, so quick blast. But yeah, the problem you might have, acrylic paints, sorry, natural metal finish paints aren't so forgiving. So the problem you may have is any sort of join lines or any kind of scribing you've done, sanding you've done. Natural metal finish paints really bring out any sort of imperfections or mistakes you've done on the model. So it is one of these things where you kind of got to be on your ball, on the ball, doing all your sanding, scribing, filling, and getting that all right, because it does come out a lot with natural metal finishes. And because of that, the way you spray down can have a bit of an effect. I know a lot of people like to keep their spray pattern all nice and uniform and neat, right? I know some people don't like to go around and sort of go, let's just blast this on and all squiggly until we sort of build up, you know, like that, because it can get a bit blotchy. Me personally, I don't mind, because I kind of do just make sure I just have good coverage. So you do find some people, they do like to kind of, you know, just spray across nice and neat, just keep it, you know, going across, as you can see, like so. Is another option. I mean, it totally is up to you. Another thing I know people like, and this is probably one of the only reasons you'd want to get an airbrush like this. This here is a single action airbrush. I don't know where I got this from. Oh, Scale Model Shop. How about that? I remember getting that now. They did their own brand. Really cool sort of airbrush. It's a single action. Single action basically means is we press down the trigger and we get air and paint, and the paint's always going to be the same level. Because with a dual action, we press down the trigger, right? Press down the trigger, pull back the trigger, and we can just have a little bit of paint coming out, or we can pull all the way back and have a lot of paint coming out, right? Which is where you can have this sort of mottly, blotchy sort of pattern going on. So by using a single action, you're getting the same amount of paint coming out all the time. You've got this little regulator thing at the back here where you can say how much the needle's coming out and how much paint's coming out, and you can get, again, you know, the same amount of paint, and you can be more sort of careful with your paint. It is just like a personal choice. You might want to go off and try the different ways of doing it. Me personally, I don't mind just coming around and just using like the old dual action airbrush, as you can see just here, and just building it all nicely up. And I think I'm a little blocked up, so again, let's just take off our guard. Let's just clean the needle end. Right, and we should be back in business. There we go. But yeah, you want to sort of try and keep your spraying sort of nice and neat. But I do generally find that if you put enough coverage down, you know, you won't see any sort of nasty spray patterns or anything like that. As you can see, we have now got that, this area anyway, nicely sprayed down, and I think you can agree it does give off quite a nice natural metal finish. All right, that would look differently if we had primed this grey. It would look different even more if we'd, you know, sprayed it black and put a black and put a gloss coat on it as well. It really does change depending on your primer. So as you can see, that is looking rather good. Time is moving along, and I do need to let this dry, so I'm just cutting to where a little bit. I'm just going to check any questions you guys might have. Nice little comment about Vallejo actually do these with little ball bearings in the bottom to help you mix. So that's a nice bit of info there. Again, back to like the dust from Ali. Yeah, I mean, it is still going to be possible to get bits of dust go down and stuff like that. As I say, because they're acrylics, they dry pretty quickly, and the time you've got for dust to come down is reduced, so it's not as likely. But if, you know, you did have like a nasty hair go down and get stuck down, a really good and nice easy way of doing it would be to get out one of these polishing sanding sticks. I like the spongy ones, and this is like, it's used for canopies. It's used for if you know, if you've got the seam lines going down a canopy and you like have to sand them out, well, use one of these and it feels pretty sort of fine on this green side, almost like smooth, and that kind of just buffs it up. And then on this opposite side, it's like squeaky sort of smooth, really sort of, yeah, like glass sort of smooth-ish, and it just really polishes up to a nice polishy finish, right? Something like this that's really, you know, kind of a polisher more than a sander. You can just simply, where you've got like a little hair, you just give it that little bit of a sanding, and it literally, it takes quite a bit to sort of remove the paint and get down to the actual plastic, which is what makes it quite good. It's not really going to be that harsh on your paintwork, but it's going to be just enough to actually work that hair or bit out, right? And then once you've done that, again, you're probably going to want to follow the similar procedure of, let's get out a toothbrush, right, and let's just maybe sort of rub at any potential sort of dust that's got into recessed panel lines, right? Clean cloth or something, just sort of rub it down, you know, make sure the area is clean with no dust and all that kind of stuff. And then plain and simply, you know, if you've sort of sanded down and you can start seeing plastic again, potentially reprime and then put your main color down, and all that good stuff. It's pretty easy. It's actually quite good for doing, oh, what was it again, the doing high gloss finishes on like cars and stuff. You can sort of use these polishing sticks and you can polish them up, and it makes the paint work really dead smooth, and you can really do some nice high gloss finishes using that technique as well. But there we go. I think we've probably done enough for tonight, because really now we're probably going to want to sort of mask up some areas, try some different natural metal finishes, which we can probably touch on next week, as well as We've got like a red nose on this one also, and that's going to take a bit of time to sort of go through. Plus I could do like just spraying this whole model, getting it all done, letting it properly dry as well before we get out masking tape and all that stuff. So that'll be it now for our MiG. I'm just going to check we got any last sort of comments on here. It looks like that is it for tonight. So let's just change that camera angle. There we go. Right, hopefully you've enjoyed that tonight. Hopefully I've answered quite a few of your questions, and sort of going into like the natural metal finishes, and you know, using like single actions and dual actions, and hopefully that's sort of helping. I know that must sound a bit sort of complicated, the whole single action and dual action, but best thing I can sort of advise is do what I did. You know, you got your dual action, you can sort of spray a natural metal finish model. Next time you do a natural metal finish model, maybe get out the single action and just try it. It's a personal choice, personally. So it depends how sort of perfect you want to sort of go with it. The single action does give you that sort of more perfect sort of finish, because you're always getting the same amount of paint come out. I know some people will just go, well, you know, if you control your dual action better, you can always get the same amount of paint, but it's still not as precise as using a single action, because it is just set precisely, same spray pattern every single time, perfectly. So, you know, it's a personal choice. So it is up to you guys on that. Again, next week we should be masking, spraying some different stuff on here. Natural metal finishes as well. I mean, it's a bit of an option, a bit of a choice on stuff like post shading and bleaching. Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, you could do bleaching, you could do post shading, but then it's a personal preference of how it sort of looks. Some people like to just keep it nice, clean, and maybe just put a wash on it at the end and just keep that clean sort of natural metal finish. Again, it's totally up to you guys. Maybe, you know, leave some comments down below. What would you like to see? Do you want to see it just clean cut, or would you like to see me do the other side of it where we can do some bleaching and post shading? But yeah, we'll be working on and hopefully finishing off the spraying side of this next week. Again, 6 o'clock on a Friday. But apart from that, hopefully you guys will get over Genessis models, check out all the other videos, get in on the forum, group builds. I'll be hopefully posting up February's competition, so hopefully you'll get in on that as well. Just a last quick check, have we got any last questions? Nope, that is it. So yeah, hopefully you have joined our live session here at Genessis Models. So until next time, my name is Bobby Baldwin, this is Genessis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.